Sisi tunasema tusije tukaiga mifano ya nchi zingine za nje that will not be beneficial to this nation. We are African and marriage can only be between a man and a woman. Si kweli? So
tunautumia rais yetu ambaye ni mtu ya kanisa, amechukua kitabu akaapa nao. Tunamuomba hiyo katiba isipite, ndio yeye ndo anafaa kulinda wa Kenya.
Tunaomba rais na tunawaomba wabunge wetu ndani ya bunge wahakikishe kwamba uamuzi uliotolewa wa kuruhusu utanguliwe au utenguliwe. Baada ya kutenguliwa, kuwekwe sheria ya kufanya kitendo hichi kihesabiwe katika jumla ya jinai, yani ni
In other news, a group of men who formed an association to empower men who have been victims of gender-based violence in Embu is now appealing to the government to set aside a men fund similar to the Youth and Women Enterprise Funds. The Inua Wazee group led Joseph Wega noted that cases of suicide among men was on the rise, hence the need to support the boy child for a better future for families.
So tafadhali ningeuliza serikali yetu ikubali ya kwamba isaidie wazee, itoe pesa at least wazee nao waweze kusimama, ndipo wazee wakisimama boma zitasimama. Wazee kuwa na nguvu, hata serikali itakuwa na nguvu.
Kulikuwa na kesi za ambazo ati wanawake walikuwa wanapiga wanaume zao. Wacha niseme tangu hiki kundi yanzie, watu wameweza kuongelea mambo sana. Tumetumana mpaka kwa makanisa, watu wamerefushwa.
Kiomba serikali ibikirie hali ya wanaume, kwa sababu kuna Women Trust Fund, kuwe na wanaume Trust Fund. Ndio sababu hii njenda isije ikapendelea pande moja kama ya wanawake.
After the dust settled on rigorous campaigns, Kenyans are waiting for elected leaders to deliver on their pledges.
To have clean, accessible drinking water across the county.
The hustle of everyday Kenyans is encouraged and rewarded.
Operationalizing Kerugoya Level 5 Hospital.
A functioning school feeding program.
But how have the leaders performed so far?
The percentage of AIDS in 2021 were more than those ones in 2022.
We will not politicize security, because if we do so, we endanger the country.
Every week, we bring you an honest assessment of the national and county governments.
One of the best ways of accelerating national development is through collaboration with county governments.
The Scorecard, coming soon on KBC Channel 1.
Baby, when we first met, I never felt something so strong. You were like my lover and my best friend. Looks like we made it. Look how far we've come, baby. We might have took the long way. feeling high when you're feeling low. Only take the road when you're missing home. Only know you love her when you let her go.
Ooh la la, I love the way you smile. Ooh la la, after all we've been through, you're so beautiful and true. You rock my world. This is for my international love. Oh yeah, she tell me said she miss me, she want me come home. She said, baby, I'm so alone. This is for my international love. Whoa.
Welcome back. Now we cross over to Kiambu Road at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations, where former Interior Cabinet Secretary Dr. Fred Matiang'i on Tuesday honored summons by the Directorate of Criminal Investigations over his current home raid claims. Now, Matiang'i was accompanied by a battery of 12 lawyers, including Dunstan Omari, Otiende Omolo, Okongo Omogeni. And now we shall be linking up with our reporter, Timothy Kipnusu, for our updated report. Kipnusu, kindly bring us to speed.
A very good afternoon to you, my colleague Jackie Wambiru there at the broadcasting house. Yes, indeed, as I mentioned, I'm coming to you live from the Office of Director of Criminal Investigation here at Kiambu Road, where the former Interior Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Fred Matiang'i, is being interrogated here. We arrived here at around 8:30, accompanied by his legal team led by Dunstan Omari, of course, also the Nyamira Senator Eric Okongo Omogeni, also the Rareda Member of Parliament Otiendo Omolo, and Sam Nyaberi. Of course, other leaders from the Azimio team led by the former Cabinet Secretary from the Devolution Docket, and of course Defense Eugene Wamalwa, and also Richard Onyonka, the Kisii Senator, actually accompanied the former powerful CA, standing with him in solidarity. Early in the morning at around 8:35 there, when they arrived, there was a bit of scuffle, and one of the senator, that is one of the lawyers, Congo Mogeni, was furious why they didn't allow them with the car inside the DCI, and the scuffle was slowed down at around for 15 minutes, and after that they went ahead to be interrogated. Of course, it is an interrogation in regards to the alleged raid at Matiang'i residential place at Karen on February 8th. Remember, Matiang'i just arrived in the country few days ago on Saturday, having been abroad for 2 weeks, that is United Kingdom, and the summons were issued to him, and he is being interrogated as we speak. And some of the unconfirmed reports is that Matiang'i might be arraigned in court, and of course also maybe be detained for some few days. That is unconfirmed reports that we have been managed to get from a number of leaders who are with us outside the DCI headquarters, and of course that will be confirmed once they get out of this particular place. And remember, Wambiru, there was a warning to Matiang'i by the Superintendent of Police, that is Michael Sang, that if at all he will not honor the summons to appear here to be interrogated, he is going to be arrested. And of course we will be here pitching camp to understand what will unfold here at the DCI headquarters. From me, Timothy Kipnusu, I hand you back to studio, Zaki Wambiru.
Well, that was our reporter, Timothy Kipnusu, giving us an update from Kiambu Road. of where the former Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i on Tuesday appeared before the DCI. We shall be keeping you updated. For now, we cross over to Makueni County, where the county governor Mutula Kilonzo says title deeds will be issued to owners of business premises in Mtito to enable them grow in their initiatives. Kilonzo said this would help resolve the boundary row between Makueni and neighboring Taita Taveta County that has seen revenue clerks from Taita Taveta collect duty from traders in Mtito Ande.
Fighting for the boundaries, fighting for the people of Makueni. That Governor Mwandime should know that there is a governor in Makueni who is more serious than anyone else in this country. They should never touch our boundary pale. Ile kitu yetu inaitwa tax. Hakuna moja itaenda Mtito Ande. Ni ya Makueni. Kwa hivyo
Makindu should have title deeds. Why do I say so? Because people have put in an investment. Na mtu amejenga gorofa. Na hiyo gorofa haina title. And that building is not useful to him because he cannot borrow, he cannot offer security, and it's important the Department of Lands lazima muamuke. Hii kazi lazima tuifanye na bidii. That is why Mtito and Taita Taveta can claim Mtito Ande.
Today, he serves as a member of the clergy after bowing out of elective politics. This week on the cabinet, we focus on James Kabingo Muregi, who served as cabinet minister in President Moi's administration. Let's take a look.
James Kabingo Muregi was first elected as the Member of Parliament for Nyandarua South in 1969. From 1975, Muregi was the Deputy Speaker of the National Assembly. Muregi was a pro-government figure and a fierce defender of the Gikuyu, Embu and Meru Association Gema, an outfit associated with Central Kenya during Jomo Kenyatta's tenure. In 1979, he lost the Nyandarua South parliamentary seat to Kimani Wanyoike. He was later appointed chairman of the Pyrethrum Board of Kenya. In 1988, Muregi became the first member of parliament for Kipipiri constituency. He would lose the seat to Laban Moshemi in 1992 with the return of multi-partyism following the repeal of Section 2A of the Constitution of Kenya. In October 1989, Muregi was appointed Assistant Minister for Environment. He displayed his total loyalty to President Moi by aggressively speaking out against those viewed to be anti-Moi, otherwise referred to as anti-Nyayo. In the early 1990s, Muregi was appointed to the cabinet as Minister for Livestock Development, but he did not last long as he had lost the Kipipiri parliamentary seat to Moshemi and was subsequently replaced as the Nyandarua Kanu branch chairman in Nyandarua by Josiah Kimemia, the man he had previously ousted. In May 1994, the party branch purported to remove him as chairman of Kipipiri sub-branch for allegedly not supporting President Moi and senior KANU officials. But he pleaded his innocence, and a week later, the branch executive committee reinstated him. The former cabinet minister became a preacher after bowing out of elective politics, and today he is a bishop whose church operates in Nyandarua and its environs.
In other news, residents of Ngong Town, Ololua and Kebiko estates want the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to probe alleged illegal quarry activities taking place at the Ngong Veterinary Farm. The residents claim the ongoing quarrying and dumping of cotton soil has made them suffer the effects of environmental degradation.
The once evergreen land is now barren. Illegal quarry activities have become the order of the day. According to residents, the bone of contention is 1,400 acre piece of land given in trust to the government for veterinary services by Kikonyoike clan in 1957.
Hapa kulikuwa kunafanyika ukulima. Walikuwa wanafuga ng'ombe, mbuzi na hata kulima vitu kama mahindi, maharagwe, hata sungura tulikuwa tunaingia hapo kwa hiyo vet farm tunaenda kusomea huko. Na kwa hivyo hii place ilikuwa evergreen, lakini kwa wakati huu tunaona mazingira yameharibika kabisa. Mtu anatoa cotton soil black mbaya zaidi anakuja anatumwagia hapa.
Residents claim powerful people have been mining road construction materials despite continuous plea to relevant authorities to rehabilitate their impassable roads.
Kwanza mtengeneza barabara za watu wa Kibiko, mtengeneza barabara za watu wa Ngong. Ndio sasa hii mali tienda kwa wengine, barabara za Kibiko siko sawa, barabara za Ngong siko sawa. Lakini saa hii ukienda tunalia tukisema hata mvua ikinyesha saa hii tutaenda wapi?
They now want the DCA to investigate a suspected cartel that has been minting millions of money monthly, exposing the locals to environmental dangers.
Mchanga hiyo black cotton zaidi ya marori elfu kumi. Uhesabu hiyo ni pesa ngapi? Vile vile inasaidia mtu binafsi. Vile vile kando mtaona shimo ingine ambayo inachimbwa red soil. Hiyo red soil ikitolewa inaenda wapi? Kwa sababu haitusaidii community na sisi hatuelezi. Kwa hivyo ile ukora imekuwa ikiendelea hapa ndani, wakati wao umefika.
Instead ya wale watu ambao wako kwa serikali waangalie mambo kama haya, unakuta wanaruhusu watu binafsi kuharibu environment yetu. So sisi tukasema tutachukua sheria mikononi mwetu, tuintervene kama wananchi, tupige nduru, sisi ni whistleblower, ndio serikali naye kuanzia hapo ichukue mkondo wake.
They have vowed not to relent until the illegal mining is stopped. Ruth Wambiru for Lunchtime News.
Moving on, over 300,000 residents of Thika, Kiambu County risk being hit by water scarcity owing to increased population and substantial reduction of water levels at the Thika Water and Sewerage Company sources. Thika Water and Sewerage Company Managing Director Moses Kenya said while the company is trying hard to continue supplying enough water for use to residents, only sufficient rain will fill the widening gap, urging residents to use the available water sparingly.
We have also been patrolling the upstream areas where there are the irrigation farms or agricultural farms have tapped from the river so that they are controlled as per the water resource authority requirements. So we have been liaising with the debris array. They have issued the requisite notices to those farms to limit them from irrigating with the water so that there is adequate downstream.
The government has pledged to prioritize technical vocational training industry linkages for a smooth transition of trainees into the job market. Principal Secretary State Department for TVET, Dr. Esther Moria, while opening a TVET workshop at the Kenya School of TVET, emphasized the need to empower TVET institutions. She said that the sector is widely recognized as the powerhouse for economic, industrial and technological advancement.
We are going to be married, 3 of us, and we are going to be seriously married and have serious children from our marriage. And these serious children are skilled Kenyan youth. Youth who can choose either to work or to be innovators, to be serious entrepreneurs, because we have worked with them and own them in this space.
Is that the future is not that we have industry here and the training institutions there. The future is co-investment, is diffusing the roles between industry and the training institutions.
Well, on that note, I shall now be handing over to my colleague Betty Kiptum, who shall be taking us through the day's business news. Kiptum?
Watching a movie with you is meaningful.
Eddie Lee.
It's a new one.
The same name as you.
Yeah, it's my name.
Wait. Jenny?
Yeah?
Your name is in the magazine? Yeah.
That you have a mortal and 2 Jennies. What will you do?
I have no idea. What should I do now?
Telling the truth right now is not the smartest decision. When faced with choices, you really should wait at least 2 more months.
After you tell him, there's no turning back. You have to think it through. Huh?
Clearly it's time to tell the truth. God is telling me to do it now. Morning, Mr. Bai.
What did you just say?
Manze aliniambia ati jana aliota na mimi. Hekaya za bunuasi.
Ukumbuki uko na therapy session leo?
Ma'am, hiyo ni afternoon. Kuna place nafaa kuwa sahihi.
You don't abandon a child just because mistakes zimefanyika. Heaven knows you wouldn't be having a brother by now.
Unaweza nsakia kakitu, mazemi nadai kujitoa.
Suna zile biashara nyingine ilivamiwa na masanse.
Melissa, nimekuwa nikikutafuta. Sikai. Nimekuja tu kukuambia. Najua mwenye alikuwa baba yako.
To get Proverbs chapter 3 verse 5 as your skiza tune, dial *811 *967 #.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not in your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5 to 6.
To get Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5, dial *811 *967 #. *811 *967 #.
A very good afternoon to you. You are watching Lunchtime News here on KBC Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. Let's do the business. Now, Kenya has sealed a deal with Zambia that will see Kenyan farmers grow maize in the Southern African country. Agriculture Cabinet Secretary Mithika Linturi, who paid a courtesy call on his Zambian counterpart Ruben Mtolo, said the deal is part of efforts by the government to boost food security.
Has on average been producing about 42 million bags annually against a consumption estimate 53 million bags. High cost of fertilizer, erratic weather patterns, and post-harvest losses have combined to reduce production. To address the shrinking production, Kenya has signed a memorandum of understanding with Zambia to allow Kenyan large-scale farmers to grow maize in the Southern African country, then ship it back home.
Clearly, they've done it right. They've got it well. There's something to learn from them. And I am sure once we sit down with these farmers, which we are going to do, we'll be able to work out at a price at which they will be able to sell maize to the country.
The deal involves Zambia earmarking 20,000 acres for Kenyan large-scale maize farmers. Zambia has also agreed to export maize to Kenya to plug a shortage that the country is facing.
We have asked a very big question. Why should people be having problems of food in Kenya? It could be up Kenya, whilst here in Zambia we have got surplus. That is a question of distribution of our resources in Africa.
Frederick Moki for Lunchtime News.
Now, diaspora remittances rose by 8.34% to $4.027 billion in 2022. Much as diaspora remittances are the highest foreign exchange earner in Kenya, there is a problem. Cross-border payments in Africa average about 12 to 18%, which is way higher than the global average of 6 to 7%. To discuss just how these costs can be brought down is Nikolai Eddy. He is the Chief Executive Officer of NALA. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Betty. It's great to be here.
Always a pleasure. Those numbers, quite a problem for Africa, really. Is this the case in terms of what you experience as NALA?
Yes, yeah. Thank you for raising that. As you mentioned, remittances, $4 billion into Kenya in this past year. It's so significant, and it's a key contributor to foreign exchange earning here in the country. The reality is that Africa is still the most expensive continent to send money to. And Kenya, with on average around 6 to 7%, is still quite high when we think about all the hard-earned dollars, pounds, and euros that have been earned abroad that are being sent and remitted back to Kenya. So absolutely, we're seeing fees very high. What's great to see, though, is a rise really in technology companies taking the stand to be able to lower the cost of remittances across the board. And we're seeing this in markets, all across the continent, here in Kenya as well.
Right. And as NALA, what are you doing to lower this cost?
Sure. So at NALA, we're a cross-border payments company, a remittances company, and we're live in markets all across Europe. So 18 markets in Europe. We're live in the UK and the US. And individuals can use our product to send money directly to Kenya, directly to M-Pesa, Airtel, all of the major banks across the country, as well as buy goods and pay bill tills. So this is something that really differentiates us from some of the competition. Our key mission is really how do we reduce the costs of remittances for individuals? And a big way that we're able to do that is by building here on the ground. So we have a great team of over 30 people who are based here in Nairobi, who are building the product alongside myself and members of our team, as well as a global team. Our focus is on finding the best talent globally, and we're seeing a lot of talent here in Kenya, so very excited to be building with our team members. So reducing the cost is done by us building on the ground. We can better understand market dynamics, relative to some of the other players who are out there who may be building from abroad. And then additionally, eating down into the payment stack. Because if you were to look at how remittances are done and why it costs 6 to 7% to send money, it's really because there are many middlemen that sit in between, and each of them need to get paid. So we want to eat down into the stack and get as close as possible from the sender to the receiver.
From the sender to the receiver. So what will it take? Because many fintechs are, of course, coming in Kenya. The fintech space is growing very vigorously. I mean, the seed funding, you got $10 million.
That's right.
Just tell us how that is going to help in terms of expansion in Africa and how that is going to pan out for Kenya as well.
Yeah, so we're very fortunate, to have raised $10 million. And, we've been working on this now for the past 4 years and have grown tremendously. So the $10 million investment will allow us to get deeper, into the Kenyan market, allowing us to build, stronger products, allow us to get closer directly to the terminating points so we can reduce those costs for consumers and for the diaspora who are living abroad. This will also allow us to expand to other markets across the African continent, as well as build stronger partnerships here in Kenya that will further reduce, the cost of remittances for the diaspora.
When you talk about diaspora remittances, there have been quite some issues around the security of the channels, be it, sending to friends or family or whatever it is. So what is the point of ensuring that there are formal channels that are trustworthy?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, in a lot of the research that we do see that many who are in the diaspora who send money back home to support family and friends send it typically for a specific purpose. And sometimes the money is used for the way that it's intended, and other times sometimes it's used in a different manner. I was here a couple of months ago, and I think I told the story that, when we launched in the USA about 1 year ago, we were speaking to a number of diaspora members, and one of them explained that, they were sending money back home to their relative to build their retirement home. And when they got home, they realized that there was actually no home there. So I think this is where tech players, have a competitive advantage. This gives tech players, sort of that key, unique differentiating point to solve specific issues if they focus on why the money is being sent. So at Nala, how we're solving for this is we're allowing the diaspora members to actually send directly to a pay bill or directly to a buy goods till. This will allow diaspora who are, let's say, supporting family members in school to pay the schools directly, or pay hospital bills directly, or pay, for land for investment purposes, as that's a major use case for, how our diaspora members and consumers use our product.
When you talk about these insecure channels, so to say, are there any pointers you can give to the diaspora community when they're looking for channels that they can trust?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, financial services is all about building trust. And financial services firms have to earn users' trust. Just because it's on the App Store or it's on the Play Store doesn't mean you can necessarily trust that product. So things that I would be looking at to ensure the safety of that product are, is there, for example, the ability to lock or have two-factor authentication on every single transaction you do? Meaning, do you have to type in a passcode, or does it use the biometric authentication on your device to secure your payments? That's one piece, just to ensure that somebody doesn't use the product who's not intended to do that. So as you're looking for a product to be able to use to remit money home, I would be looking for things like where are the disclosures around the company in terms of are they trustworthy? Are there reviews that have been written about the company that show that this is a transfer service that really has users' interests in mind, as well as looking when you open up the product to see, does it have security features like two-factor authentication, like I just mentioned.
So of $10 million, you're spending half of it in Kenya.
Yes.
What is so special about Kenya?
Yeah, Kenya is, I have a real love for this country. I hope to be able to stay here for the rest of my life. It's an honor to be living here for the past 2 years. Kenya is such an amazing market because it's a hotbed of talent. There are many young individuals who've graduated from universities, who are seeking for jobs, who are very well qualified. For every customer support and operations role that we open up, we have over 100 applications just for one role. And, many of the individuals we have to unfortunately pass on because we don't have the capacity to hire them right now, but many of them are extremely qualified. So that's something I'd love to see, further continue in the ecosystem, is more global companies setting up operations in Kenya, because there is such great talent, that exists here.
So for you as Nala, you've come in, of course there are competitors who are already set up here, and you've joined the market. Do you think the cake is big enough?
Absolutely. It's the tip of the iceberg when it comes to payments and it comes to technology. And there's a slogan that some of us like to say, which is payments are 1% built. And what we mean by that is that it's still very much early days in capturing the true opportunity that technology can open up when it comes to payments. There are a handful of companies that are out here that are making great progress in the market, but the opportunity is still wide open. Let's look at remittances, as that's the segment. Many and much of remittances is still done through informal channels, through the Hawala networks, through individuals hopping on a plane and delivering cash, or giving it to a stranger who will then deliver it to your home. The World Bank estimates that more than half of remittances are still done through informal channels. So technology companies that are trustworthy and that have earned a reputation have the opportunity still to be able to reduce the cost that informal channels as it relates to remittances still contain.
You deal in a number of markets in Africa, of course. Yeah. How does Kenya compare with the other markets?
Yeah, Kenya is a super exciting market for us, and hence the reason why we've decided to double down our investment here in the market. Kenya has a large diaspora base, based all across the world, that consistently sends money, back home for investment purposes and also to support family and friends. And it's an extremely strong and connected diaspora network, I'd say. And so for us, we see Kenya as being, a major opportunity that still, is just the tip of the iceberg for us. And then, of course, there's other markets, all across the continent. Like you mentioned, we're in Francophone West Africa, we're in Nigeria, Ghana, and a few other markets. Of course, remittances play a pivotal role. But I think the thing that's exciting about Kenya is we're starting to go to remittances 2.0. And what I mean by that is we're heading into a place and a space where it's not just about sending money directly to a bank account or to a telephone number, but now we're starting to allow the diaspora to pay for specific services back home. And that's super exciting. I think Kenya is leading the way in that.
Kenya is leading the way. As we come to a close of the conversation, Nico, what are your closing remarks? What is the outlook for the future in terms of remittances in Kenya?
Yeah, it's great to see that, remittance values are still rising. I'm excited to see how regulatory frameworks can continue to support tech businesses that are building here on the continent, especially tech businesses that really want to focus and work together with governments to help pave the way for new financial services. So, the doors are just being opened, we feel, and we're excited to see where this will head.
All right. Thank you very much, Nico, for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you.
I have been speaking with Nikolai Eddy. He is the Chief Executive Officer at NALA, and we've been talking about matters cross-border remittances, the challenges, and what can be done to remedy those. We move on to other news. The Kenya Revenue Authority will begin approximating value-added tax from businesses using their stock with the new electronic tax invoice management system. KRA Deputy Commissioner George Obel says the system will be fully rolled out next month and is projected to help increase tax collections by 400 billion shillings annually.
An ERP solution can easily be integrated to ITIMS quickly. And we're having a discussion with the suppliers to be able to do that, because you can be able to upscale that quickly. A lot of time, there are refunds for a long period of time during audit, verification. This system is going to sort it out, because you can now electronically see them and see what they're doing and what they have incurred, and you can be able to give taxpayers their money back. That will be able to help them on their cash flow.
We are trying to avail as much information as possible so that any taxpayer who wants to install the software, they don't have to come to KRA. Upon your registration, then we must analyze and see that you have selected the option that is fit for you.
And Cooperatives and Micro Small Enterprises Cabinet Secretary Simon Chelugui says the government is keen on leveraging SACCOs to deliver services to the public. He is therefore challenging cooperatives to streamline their services so as to increase their reach, especially targeting those not currently accessing financial services formally.
The CS added that cooperative business model is an ideal vehicle to ensure success towards financial inclusion for the majority of Kenyan population who will otherwise not have access to financial services from conventional institutions.
The role is to ensure that those who have joined SACCOs and cooperatives are protected, are safeguarded. Their interests are, we ensure the SACCOs and cooperatives hold regular annual general meetings, annual delegates conference, which is part and parcel of good corporate governance, and also ensuring that members, the democracy and the members participate fully in activities of their respective cooperative SACCOs.
The CS called on SACCOs to join and support plans for central liquidity system for cooperatives that will facilitate them to clear checks and borrow from each other, noting that this will help them to significantly reduce the financing costs if they join the national payment system.
Ours is to facilitate and ensure that they pool resources, they pool their liquidity together, so that in the event one or two SACCOs have a challenge in overnight or in a day, during the day, they can call on a brother, they can call on a sister SACCO to support at rates that are friendly and are also brotherly.
He said the central liquidity system, if embraced by SACCOs, will reduce their reliance on banks for financing, check processing, and electronic cash transfer.
A number of things are just deepening the and empowering the cooperative movement to ensure it is responsive to the emerging needs in the SACCO, in the cooperative movement.
He challenged the SACCOs to diversify their products to attract members, especially the youth. Michael Mondiga for Lunchtime News, Mombasa County.
Across borders now, Egypt targets to increase exports to Africa to $15 billion by training Egyptians on how to deal with the African markets and identifying markets' needs. Egyptian exporters face challenges such as banks, credit facilities, and a long shipment period for goods when expanding to African markets. Here are the details of these and other stories making headlines across the African continent.
Egypt plans to increase exports by 20% this year in 5 main industries, namely construction materials, chemical supplies, engineering supplies, agricultural crops, and food manufacturing. This is expected to help Egypt increase exports to $100 billion annually by expanding in global and African markets. In spite of the current economic crisis and instability of global supply chains due to COVID-19 pandemic and the Russia-Ukraine war, Egyptian industrial exports and non-oil commodities witnessed a 12% increase in 2022 to $35.2 billion. In March 2022, Egypt revealed its plan to increase exports to African markets up to $10 billion by the year 2025. Elsewhere, the Tanzania government says it will act decisively on the abandoned horticulture estates in Arusha in its new bid to boost the multi-million-dollar industry. Tanzania earned $289.6 million from horticulture exports last year, a drop from $378.6 million that was exported in 2021. Tanzania's Ministry of Agriculture says 2 of the commercial farms will be retaken by the state, while the other 5 will have to wait as they have pending cases in court. The state will ensure that terminal benefits amounting to billions of shillings for hundreds of workers forced into redundancy is paid. The Minister for Agriculture says the government has decided to intervene in order to get the farms back in production. Finally, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has announced the removal of Eroton as the operator of the joint venture in line with the provisions of the Joint Operating Agreement. The move is to curtail further degradation of the asset and revamp the production of oil and gas. The partners appointed NNPC 18 Operating Limited as the new operator. Both entities jointly own 71.2% equity in the new joint venture.
And China's exports fell by 6.8% in combined figures for January and February compared with a year earlier. Exports fell by 6.8% from a year earlier to $506 billion compared with a decline of 9.9% in December. Data released by China Customs showed the January and February figure was above expectations of a decline of 8.3% according to financial experts. Here are the details of these and other news making headlines in the world.
Exports in January and February were 6.8% lower than a year before, after a 9.9% annual fall seen in December. The result was, however, better than the average expectation. Imports were down by 10.2%, greatly missing the poll estimate for a 5.5% drop. December imports had been 7.5% lower than a year earlier. Commerce Minister Wang Wentao cautioned that downward pressure on China's imports and exports will increase significantly this year because of the risk of a global recession and weakening external demand. Elsewhere, heavy rains which were blamed for some food shortages in Australia have also given crop exports a boost. The country's farmers are predicted to see their most valuable year ever. According to the Australian Bureau of Agricultural and Resource Economics, agricultural exports are forecast to hit a record of $75 billion in the year to the end of June. The Ukraine war has pushed up the price of goods including wheat, Australia's biggest agricultural export. Prices have also been boosted by droughts in other major exporters and the war in Ukraine, which was a major supplier of cereal crops including wheat. And finally, Twitter has experienced major problems with posting some images and links. This is the second time in a week it has suffered technical issues. Clicking on links in posts resulted in users receiving an error message. Twitter said some parts of the service were not working as expected and blamed an internal change that had some unintended consequences. Experts have noted that the platform seems to be experiencing more technical issues of late.
That's it for the business news this afternoon, but of course this broadcast continues. I hand you back to Jackie Wambiru for more news. My name is Betty Kiptum. Jackie, take it away.
Well, thank you so much, Betty Kiptum. Now, in other news, weeks after last year's Kenya Certificate of Primary Education examination, students joined high school. 15-year-old Doreen Idza from Mombasa County is still at home due to lack of school fees. Doreen, who also suffers from sickle cell anemia, is appealing to well-wishers to send donation to her father Huxley Mwadzoya through phone number 0723 953875. 0723 953875.
Dream career is to be a doctor in future. Ningependa kusaidia wazazi ama wanafunzi wenzangu wenye wanapitia kwa hii challenge ambayo mimi napitia.
Nimepitia mengi sana katika maisha yangu. Nilikuja nikaajiriwa kazi, nikafanya kazi na kampuni ya Fair Deal for 15 good years. But all of a sudden nikaja nikapata ajali, nikagongwa na gari. Nilipogongwa na gari nikaenda hospitali nikalazwa, nilipotoka nikaja nikajiuguza. Baada ya kurudi kazini wakaenda akanifuta kazi. Hali nikitafuta nalea watoto wanasoma huku na huku. Sasa nimepitia mambo mengi sana ambayo hata nikieleza sijui niseme nini.
And now in the sports arena, Brentford impressive Premier League run continued as they overcame West London derby rivals Fulham 3-2 at the GTEC Community Stadium. Elsewhere, Torino beat Bologna 1-0 at the Stadio Olimpico.
The striker Ivan Toney was the talisman once more from the penalty spot for Brentford as they closed to within 3 points of 6th placed Newcastle United. Ethan Pinnock's shot was deflected off Tim Braham to put Brentford ahead after only